Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year, Happy Ukrainian New Year as well. It's all set for a good 2025. So welcome to the Peace River Town Council regular meeting of January 13th, and I'll call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. So we have the agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions?
Yes, Your Worship, I would like to delete presentations, item number 5. Staff Sergeant Blair had to reschedule.
Thank you. I'm reminded here that, and I'm gonna take a little break. I don't know why my voice is all of a sudden going, but, since we are in 2025, maybe we could take a second to acknowledge that we are on the homeland of the many diverse First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. We're grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty Land.
Thank you.
So, okay, so on the agenda, we have one deletion, and that's all. So would someone like to move the adoption of the agenda with that amendment?
I can move that.
Thank you, Councillor Shannon. All those in favor of the motion? Great. Okay, in front of us, we also have the minutes of December 9th, the regular council meeting. You've had a chance to review those. They were quite lengthy with budgets and so forth. Are there any edits to those minutes? Now, would someone, sorry, Councillor Good?
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Okay, so the minutes of December 9th, regular council meeting presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. We do not have any public hearings and presentations were deleted for this meeting. So we're on to bylaws and so the first bylaw, Ms. Modi is going to talk to us about bylaw number 2168, bylaw number 1891, amendment, domestic animal care services. Welcome, Ms. Modi.
Good evening, everyone. So we have received an application to amend the land use bylaw to add a use. Specifically, the applicant would like to open a business on Main Street in the C1 district, but it's not an enabled use right now, so we do need to make an amendment. The bylaw presented is adding that use. Sorry, I just walked up the stairs. Didn't realize the presentations were canceled.
You're rather quick tonight, Take a moment.
Thank you. The amendment is adding the use to a number of districts in the land use bylaw. This is consistent with the draft land use bylaw that we're bringing forward to council in the near future. So this particular portion of it is just coming a little bit ahead of the curve, but it adds the use to the majority of the commercial districts in town. I can take any questions the council might have.
So go ahead.
Given that this was something you were going to do anyways, just I don't think it's too much to apply for a change. Is this something that someone would have to pay a fee for, or because it's started happening, that's kind of waived, or how does that work? Just
It is still something that someone has to pay a fee for, and the applicant has done so at this point, yes.
So a doggy daycare means 8 to 5 or something, caring for animals? Is that what it is?
Essentially, daytime care of animals where those animals go back home again to their owners in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at perhaps first reading and then it will go through the process. Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? Would someone like to move that we do first reading? First reading on it?
yeah, I'll move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2168 to add domestic animal care services to 8 land use districts in land use bylaw number 1891.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? So the time frame for this, if it passes first reading, when might we see it come back for second and so on?
I would expect February.
Okay, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion? It is carried, thank you. And now onward to bylaw number 2169, again, land use bylaw number 1891 amendment, redistricting plan 8421257 parcel B. Ms. Moody.
Yes, this is the redistricting bylaw that follows council's direction from the December council meeting. This is the parcel of land that the town owns in the old Lions campground, and we are redistricting from the community development district to the direct control district.
So we had much discussion about that parcel of land over several years, actually, I think, right? Council, any discussion? Councilor Carr.
With it going direct control, will we also be putting some sort of caveat on to ensure that it stays a campground? Or will it vary as to who is sitting on council at that time, whether it will determine whether it's going to be a campground? Because I think council had specifically said they wanted to stay a campground.
At this point, this bylaw is making it direct control, so that means that the council of the day, whoever that happens to be, is the one who would decide whether the proposed development can proceed or not on that land. A caveat, I think, was discussed in December, and it was legal's direction that this was the cleaner way to approach it.
All right, I remember that. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any further clarification, questions? Okay, would someone perhaps like to move forward?
Thank you, Your Worship. I put a motion on the floor that council provide first reading to bylaw number 2169, which is land use bylaw number 1891 by redistricting plan 8421257 parcel B from community development district to direct control district.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. Any further discussion? Everybody's clear on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? It is carried. Thank you, Ms. Modi.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have any unfinished business, so now on to new business, and CAO Miller is going to introduce us to a new Director of Protective Services, perhaps.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. So as mentioned, I am beyond thrilled to be able to introduce our new Director of Protective Services, Danny Kress. He started with us last Monday. Danny, he brings a wealth of protective services CPO experience to the town. And as mentioned, when we developed the position, he will be overseeing the community peace officer program, bylaw, fire, and emergency management. Starting with, at the moment, we are just working to really get our CPO program up and running. So that'll be Danny's main focus for the next while. But he's already been boots on the ground. We have entered into a shared services agreement with the town of Valley View, who through that shared services agreement, until Danny completes certain requirements for the Solicitor General to appoint him to the town of Peace River, he is fully enforceable through our shared services agreement with Valley View. So I just want to say welcome, and we are really excited to have him join the senior leadership team.
So welcome, Mr. Kress, and we hope you're finding Peace River a good place to be already in terms of accommodation and finding your way around town and just getting used to everything. So we're looking forward to your work, put it that way.
Thank you.
And so Mr. Kress, his office is in this building. Where's his office?
Yeah, my office is in the main floor downstairs, right near the CAO's office. So I'll be working right out of this office all the time.
Great, great to hear. So welcome, and I kind of hope your job is uneventful, but that's unlikely, so good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we have Mr. Fisher, who's talking about the Extended Producer Responsibility Program.
I need a motion.
Well, we could have one in here. Sorry, we'll go back a bit. Counselor.
I move that council accept the new Director of Protected Services briefing note for information.
Thank you. Everybody's clear on that motion? All those in favor? Great, it is carried. Thank you. Mr. Fisher.
Good evening, council. I don't know if you guys remember, it was like, I think it was late 2023. We came forward with an ask about applying, or having the Peace Regional Waste Management Company apply to ARMA for the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, EPR. It's EPR, yeah. But they did that in December of 2023, and late last year, we got a request for some information. We've been kind of working through some stuff with the producers selected vendor. So I'm gonna step back. Extended Producer Responsibility is sort of a recycling program whereby the producers and manufacturers of goods, so anybody who sells something with like a plastic clamshell package, for example, is responsible for making sure that that material gets recycled at the end of its life. So the intent is to take some of that burden off of municipalities in the long term for recycling, because recycling is actually a really hard program to run. It's really easy to do the blue bag collection and get it to a place, but figuring out what to do with all the different streams of recycling is actually a bit of a challenge. So this legislation was passed. The Recycling Association for Alberta has kind of been designated as the authority and working through implementation with the process. So that the long-term goal is that the cost of the recycling is built into the product when you buy it. So when you go and buy the package of strawberries, there's a little bit of that money that you pay for that clamshell of strawberries is actually intended to go to recycling, and help make sure that material gets repurposed or reused or disposed of properly. So Circular Materials is the vendor selected by the producer. So people who produce the plastic packaging and paper products that need to be recycled have kind of all gotten together with through ARMA, through the Recycling Association, and selected Circular Materials to be the collector of choice for dealing with the recycled materials. So they've approached us, they've asked for some information, and we have kind of two options. One is that we continue recycling as we're doing it right now. Which means we would contract somebody to pick up blue bags for the single family residential houses and figure out what to do with it from there. We would have to find a processor, get it dealt with appropriately. And we currently charge, I think it's about $2 a month on the utility bill, give or take a bit, for the recycling service per household. And pick it up. Or we can engage Circular Materials and we'll no longer have to incur that expense. Because people are paying for that recycling fee when they buy the good. So the Circular Materials would engage a collector in the area. There's multiple, we've let them know that there would be multiple vendors in the area that would be capable of picking up materials for them. They would engage it, they would manage that contract, and they would make sure that those materials are getting to the appropriate recycling markets where they need to be. And so we would just kind of take that piece of just the recycling piece off of our plate, let Circular Materials handle that, and in the long term, take that expense away from our residents. Cool thing about it is it also includes the ability to expand to multifamily. Multifamily is included in the EPR program. So the apartment buildings would be able to work with, eventually the Circular Materials or their selected vendor would work with the apartment buildings to get pickup sorted for those facilities as well. And there's also an expansion of products that are included in blue bag. So like, for example, right now, glass jars are not allowed to be tossed into your blue bag. You gotta take that to the eco center. Well, under the EPR program with the recyclers, you would just toss all that into a blue bag and be good to go. So those are kind of our two options. If we had more time left, because our contract is currently due at the end of May, if we had more time left in our contract, there would be a third option where we continue our service with our contracted provider, but we get reimbursed from Circular Materials for that expense, but that's not an option for us because our contract is too close to the timeline here. So our contract would end at the end of May with GFL currently. And EPR would come into force on April 1st. So just not on the table. So we've got two options there kind of.
So if somebody under this new system has a complaint or concern about their blue bag at their curb, it isn't picked up or something, will they be contacting this circular, whoever the circular company has subcontracted?
Yeah, so we would, in an ideal world, it would be the same person that we've got for our waste management pickup or our residential pickup. That's not necessarily gonna be the case, but we would have their contact information. So if they called us, we would say, okay, well, here's the number that you need to call. We need to call this person at this company. And they'll arrange for somebody to come pick it up, but it would be not being taken care of by administration.
Councillor Shannon?
Are there any, local companies that would do that work when we let go of it? Like you said, is that what you said? I thought.
I think we have, 3 or 4 companies that have shops in town that do like hauling, for it. So I think maybe there might be 4. So there's multiple vendors and I did let them know, hey, like, we are contracted. Price when we put it out, but there are multiple people and I feel like if we put out when we put out our residential collection contract, I'm expecting that we'll get at least 3, if not 4 different prices.
Councillor Ford, then Councillor Green.
Yeah, I just one question. I'm gonna use your strawberries as an example. So a consumer goes into a grocery store, whatever grocery store it is in town, and buys that package of strawberries tomorrow. Okay, and if we move to this, are those costs already incurred in what we're buying tomorrow? Or a year from now, are those costs gonna go up because of the recycling program?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, because that was really, because we've done a couple of sessions on this already. So there are multiple jurisdictions in Canada that have already adopted this program, Ontario, BC, and I feel like that there was one other one that has adopted this program already. So the cost of the recycling is actually already built into a lot of the cost of goods. We're already paying that fraction of a penny on the clamshell or a penny on the clamshell, for example.
Councillor Good?
Yeah, just a question on the term, like recyclable waste. This is i.e. plastic packaging and then the ETC, which generally means a long list. So, is it just packaging or is it other recyclable materials? I'm thinking to some degree electronics, I'm thinking to some degree different things, and I don't know what this includes.
So this is PPP and it's paper, plastic, packaging is the full, so it's everything that we would put into our blue bag or that's common to put into blue bag. So your aluminum cans, your cardboard boxes, newsprint, paper, plastic, like your food containers, cleaned and washed, obviously, because they still have to go to market, they have to be processed and stuff. So things like that. There are a number of other products that are classified as HHW, household hazardous waste. So like your paints, your batteries, things like that, that are still recyclable, those would still go to the Eco Center. That's a different program under ARMA. And then things like electronics, again, same thing. It's a different program. It would still, you'd still want to send that to the Eco Center.
A follow-up question to it. So packaging can take a number of forms, a number of different materials. So is it going to be up to the homeowner to separate in 5 blue bags. I'm being a bit sarcastic, but in 5 blue bags, I've got a paper bag here, a cardboard bag here, a tin bag here, a bottle bag here. Or is it anything that fits in the description as long as it's clean, washed, gets fired into one bag and out to the front it goes?
It can all go into, as long as it's in that program and in the list of accepted materials, it will all go in the same bag, or in my case, I would be multiple bags, cause I got like an army of kids at home.
Right.
But they would all go, the intent is that it's a blue bag, it's one bag. You don't have to source separate it. I'm currently in a community, like I resided permanently in a community that has source separated recycling, and it's a pain in the butt. So we've
Yeah.
got a dozen bins at the back door and we have to sort them all out ahead of time. I'm so itchy for EVR to come to my home community. This is so exciting that we could have one bag.
Okay, good.
It's a really good program.
Council Ford?
Yeah, just one more follow-up question. So I know you use the term packaging, but what if it's a piece of plastic, let's say a kid's toy or something like that, and it has that recyclable symbol on it? Is that acceptable into this program or not?
I would think so, if it's got the like typically the recycling label on the plastics, that sort of indicates that you can go.
So it
to
could
a
be
bag. But I would actually want to talk to a specific supplier about that, or processor, but my understanding is that if it's got that symbol on it, it probably could go.
So it's nice to hear that glass might have a home in this program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's little
Any other questions at this point, clarification? So basically, anything that goes in our present blue bags is likely to be part of this program, and add on a few other things, and things like we have weekly pickup right now. Is that part of the discussion, or is that a given, or?
Yeah, so the intent is that we as a community would not see a reduction in level of service moving to this. I'm optimistic. I would hope that recycling happens weekly. It's a pretty critical component of waste management and diversion is keeping it out of the landfills. And I did want to clarify, just in case it wasn't clear, I'm really in favor of moving this way, because I think it's good for the community in the long run. It's good for the industry to participate. So my recommendation would be to engage with circular materials to take it over.
And as you mentioned, with some of the packaging, whether we knew it or not, we've been paying all along for that recycling. It's just, there wasn't a program that we didn't have to pay directly for as well.
And just one thing, the financial stuff's not always the main thing, but that you're saying about $150,000 less from the taxpayer directly into it, because into the operating costs, because we won't have to be doing the operating costs.
Correct. So when we were planning to, well, so our contract is up this year. My understanding is that there's a fairly significant fee that's being paid. That wasn't included in the successful proponents bid that we would be responsible for in the future, for the recycling cost. And so, between 2024 and 2026, there's about $150,000 increase slotted in our utility rate model to accommodate for that additional cost. So that would kind of,
It won't be there.
it'll be taken out, long term, and there's a balance there that would probably go into reserve still, just in case we had an issue. But
Any other questions for clarity or otherwise? Would someone like to move us forward with a motion? Okay, Councillor Shannon.
I move that council directs administration to transition management of household recycling service, the Blue Bag program, to circular materials.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Everybody's clear on the motion and what the intention is? Okay, all those in favor? It is carried. Thank you, Mr. Fisher, and good luck with the new process. Okay, next up, public auction properties, tax forfeiture with Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, Worship. Excuse me. The request for decision before you, I'm seeking approval from council for us to register tax forfeiture status on 3 properties having tax arrears that were not sold at public auction. So the Municipal Government Act, it mandates municipalities to undertake collection processes for properties who have tax arrears. And that process leads up to a public auction. Once the properties are offered at public auction, if they're not sold, then the MGA provides municipalities 3 options for us to exercise in order to recover property tax arrears. So over the past few years, the town has a number of properties that are in tax arrears that have gone through the public auction process that were not sold. And now administration has begun to review and evaluate each one of these properties to determine the best option to execute to work towards recovery of the arrears taxes. Pardon me. So far, we have looked at 3 properties that are listed in the request for decision. One of those properties in particular are Juliet's Place, that we would like to move forward on addressing that property. So of the options that are available to council and administration to move forward on, the first one is obtaining a tax forfeiture title. So what happens is once a property goes into arrears at a certain point in time, a tax notification is placed on title. And that tax notification then it makes it aware that this property is in arrears, and should they not pay up, it's going to move forward to public auction. So what a tax forfeiture does then is it puts the property in the town's name with a tax forfeiture notice on title. But that tax forfeiture notice then enables the town to dispose of the property or rent it or lease it, or if it's being leased, to collect the rentals that's being paid to put towards the tax arrears. When a tax forfeiture title is on title, up until the property is sold, or after 15 years, the municipality has opportunity then to ask land titles to cancel tax notification and issue a title in the town's property name, the property in the town's name. So until such time as the property is sold, or after 15 years from date of auction and the town opts to take over the title, the property owner has opportunity to pay their tax arrears and revive the title into their name. Okay. The advantages then by putting tax forfeiture on, as mentioned, is it enables the town to move forward with renting, leasing, selling the property to deal with the arrears. Also advantage, again, is once tax forfeiture is on title, 15 years from the date of the auction, the town has the opportunity to have a title reissued, clear title in the town's name. The disadvantage, but I also consider it an advantage actually, disadvantage is, well, the town has to insure it and maintain the property, so we can't just let it, you know, the windows get busted and whatnot and just be ignored. But any costs that we incur to maintain that property goes on the tax roll, and then we can recover it through sale proceeds. What is a good thing about tax forfeiture is it deems the property exempt, and it no longer takes that assessment value into our overall assessment value when we're distributing the mill rate and property taxes to collect. So in other words, if we're trying to collect $1 million in property tax, as long as the property is not deemed exempt, if it's $50,000 worth of property tax assessed to that property, if that property, if that tax becomes bad debt, because we already know they're not paying their taxes, so we're incurring bad debt year over year over year, knowing we can't collect from this property where tax forfeiture, it changes it to exempt property and it no longer forms part of the taxable assessment that we collect from each year. Does that make sense to everybody? Second option is once we put tax forfeiture title, we get that on title. The town then, also has the opportunity to purchase that property at market value or as close to market value, just like anybody else. So we could go put a for sale sign on the property, we can get a realtor, or we can do it ourselves, we get it appraised, we can put a for sale sign on it. We too can also buy that property at close to or near market value. So, for example, when we want to move forward with Juliet's place, once it goes on tax forfeiture, the cost to remediate would be more than market value. So essentially we'll be able to take that property over for $1 and then move forward with some form of remediation or action on that property. And finally, the last option is to do nothing. So if we do nothing, it continues to accrue property taxes, continues to build our bad debt, continues to ensure we collect less than we need to operate and to fulfill our municipal requisition each year. That being said, putting tax forfeiture notification on the property, we have any time after the auction, we can do that. So even if we went 15 years or 20 years from now and decided to put tax forfeiture notification on it in order to get clear title in the town's name. But for those 15 years, if we do nothing, it's just gonna continue to grow and grow and grow the bad debt, the expense, the actual assessed value charge plus interest. And so it just continues to grow. So doing nothing is not recommended. So looking at the 3 properties that we have isolated in this request for decision, a couple of them are vacant lands or properties that we feel we could list and see some proceeds on and recover some funds. And again, the Juliet's Place property, we would like to move forward on that and bring forward a request for a direction on cleaning that property up. So our recommendation to council is to authorize us to take tax forfeiture on title of those 3 properties.
Okay, so tax forfeiture, basically, taxes haven't been paid for a while, and we've arrived at a point where we decided the property needs something to happen to it in order to either maintain its looks or be dealt with. And if it's a clear title, that happens only after 15 years or so. How does that happen again? Sorry, guys.
So once it goes to tax forfeiture title, a purchaser of that property, if we list the property, a purchaser then would get clear title. We would then say we sold the property. We would like that title into the new property owner's name, and they would get clear title, except for the Crown Government of Canada always, well, not always, there are certain circumstances we can have their claim removed. So that's that one thing. Otherwise, 15 years after the date of auction, whether tax forfeiture title had been put on it earlier or not, after 15 years of the auction date, we can then apply to put tax forfeiture on it, because it is a step, has to have tax forfeiture. We can then apply for tax forfeiture and then right afterwards ask for clear title in the town's name, because 15 years have passed and the property has not been paid or the tax is paid or property hasn't been sold. Was that confusing?
So clear title follows after tax forfeiture.
Forfeiture. So it doesn't get sold at auction, because if it's sold at auction, it goes clear title. Yeah. So afterwards, no matter what, in order for the town to take it under clear title, has to have tax forfeiture. And then same thing, for us to sell it, we have to have tax forfeiture on it in order to be able to sell it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Councillor Ford, Councillor Good, questions?
Thank you. Yeah, I actually have quite a few questions because we spoke about this in prior councils a number of years ago, not about these specific addresses. So the first question I would have is, like reading through this, there was no bids. So it went up for auction, there was no bids. So if you look at the second listed roll number and the third listed roll number, my question would be, why is the reserve bid higher than the assessed value?
I don't think it was. Why was the reserve bid?
So the reserve bid on property 3 was 68,100, but yet the assessed value is only 54,900. Property number 2, reserve bid was at 88,600, and the assessed value is only at 73,200. So I'm just curious as to why the reserve bid is higher than the assessed value.
I'll have to get back with a certainty, but I'm going to speculate. We typically come forward with assessed value as the value that we set as the reserve bid. Not all these properties, 3 properties, didn't necessarily go on this auction this year. We've been finding some properties that were sold in prior auctions. So without me going to look at this, but it is possible that this property was put up for auction a few years ago, and that was the assessed value at the time. But I do need to confirm that, right?
Yeah, and my other question was the reserve bid on property 1, which is the one we all know we want to deal with it because it's on Main Street, but the reserve bid is at 51,300, but yes, the property arrears are higher than the reserve bid.
So again, the property taxes, their arrears is becoming greater and greater each year as we continue to assess them, and we continue to hit them with interest for not paying. The property tax arrears is going to continue to grow and grow and grow far beyond the assessed value. So in this case, here's an example, though, that the assessed value, when we came forward and asked council for reserve bid for the properties, we always use assessed value because we can't actually get in and look at the property, right? We can't go in and see what condition it is or anything. So we always come forward with the assessed value as the reserved bid value unless we're aware of some other unknown or some other factor at the time.
The other question I have is, being that this went through the bid process once at that reserve bid and there was no bids, does the town have, or does council have the option to take it back to bid? And does it actually have to sell for the assessed value? Can it not sell less now?
Yes, so it does not go back to auction. We could just do a private sale. Like I said, I could hire a realtor or we can list it ourselves. And then it has to be sold at closest to market value. And market value is what a willing party is to pay, right? So again, it would be difficult for somebody at a public auction unless they are in that building and know the condition and be fully aware to be willing to pay the reserve bid.
And the last question, well, 2 more questions. This auction, where was it advertised? Online? Did we advertise it on our social media pages and on our webpage? So I know there's a lot of people that are out in the community that may or may not know that this auction was even happening.
I'm not sure if it went on our social media. I do know, I will speak first though, there are legal requirements that we have to meet. So it's absolutely advertised in the Alberta Gazette, which is a requirement of us. And
Advertised where, sorry?
in the Alberta Gazette. So the municipal government requires us to advertise in the Alberta Gazette, any properties that are going up for tax sale. And can you
Yeah.
speak to?
Yeah, and if I remember, it was in the South Peace News. I think Roxanne had asked me to put that in there, but no, it wasn't on our social media.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I asked that question, because there's a lot of developers and people that would probably have an interest in these properties if they knew about them, and I don't think they did.
However, as developers, they watch for these sorts of things.
May or may not.
They would go looking into it.
Yeah, they'd have to go to a certain spot.
Counselor Good?
Most of the properties I can identify, one is an empty lot that I know, okay. The 90, what's the address there, 9623 89th Avenue. Where is that property and what is that property?
Right beside Nomad, there was Nomad over
Tony, just let maybe the CAO answer the question.
I'm sorry, I have to pull it up on the GIS. I don't know, so I'll just,
Well, I Googled it and it came up as a log house at the top of town, so, but that's okay. If you Google North Peace Housing's address, it sends you to Saddleback, so, I mean, I know Google's not always the proper source, but I'm just wondering, and it doesn't, is it an empty lot also?
I'm sorry, she's just gonna pull up the GIS. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry?
We're just gonna pull up the GIS.
If you could, yeah, I appreciate it. I'd like to know roughly where it is.
Yeah. Back to the other question about notification, I mean, we certainly notify where we need to. We will make a point in the future to be sure it goes on our social media. But I've yet to see anybody purchase anything at a reserve bid auction because, I said typically you're buying it sight unseen. And, we're required to go market value. Typically, if anything sells, it usually sells post auction.
Counselor Good?
Well, further to your point, like, once it's been auctioned one time by your Gazette, et cetera, we can then put it up for auction again, am I correct? For what you're saying, we could auction it or put it up for sale, at which point the high bid to a degree becomes the market value. Because if nobody's willing to pay a higher amount, so the guy comes in and sells at 30,000 on it, or is there a range?
No, we were required to try to collect as much
Yes.
for the homeowner. And I would suggest that if we sold something that was worth a few $100,000, but the only willing party came up with an offer of 70, I think that would be a legal challenge. So,
By who? I'm
by
sorry.
the owner who's losing their property and getting their value, right? Because first happens on a tax sale or property sale afterwards is, we get to recover our property taxes, but then the balance goes to the king of, yeah, bench. So it's a vacant property, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, because that one is, the second one on the list is vacant property.
So it's an empty lot.
Yeah.
And the third one on the list is a building?
It's the same.
Yeah, if you, here, right here, see this here, my roll number. By,
I thought the
Vacant
second
land.
property was the old
Oh, yeah, we just don't, looks like somebody's encroaching on this.
install shop behind.
Down in, this is in the west side and the industrial area down along the river. Looks like there's some things encroaching on the property. Or still remains there, they're not, there's some kind of. Yeah, so again, it's industrial land or commercial land. We felt that we could probably, list it and maybe, recover some of our tax property from there.
Okay, any further questions to clarify this whole thing?
Oh, sorry, just. So that was the reserve the one, July of 22, so that says that one property that you're asking, that was 86,000. It went for auction in July of 2022. So at that time, I can't speak to what was brought forward for council, but typically it is the assessed value, because that's the best clue we have as to the value.
So you said 962389, that was a vacant property?
Yes. Yes.
Across the street from the school there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. Isn't that the building that's tied onto the back of Nomad Electric, the old Nomad Electric building?
No, there's four, there's empty lots that are behind that.
Oh, right there.
Okay, so there's these three properties and admin is asking us how council would like admin to go forward with this matter. So there's some options presented. Anyone want to put forth a motion on perhaps one of the options or something different, whatever? Counselor Good?
I'll move the recommendation that, let me put it in front of me here. The council authorized administration to register a tax forfeiture on title for roll numbers 202000, 319026, and 503202.
Thank you. And one question to clarify, if this motion passes, what is the length of the process for the town to decide to sell, lease, or whatever might follow?
Land titles will get notified right away, so we have to wait till they do their process, but we will be bringing forward a request for direction, particularly. So in February, I would expect we will be bringing forward, because we want to get working on that, Juliet's property right away. Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, everyone's clear on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? None. It is carried. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. And still continuing on, Mrs. Miller, with the extension of the fire services agreement with the County of Northern Lights.
Thank you again, your worship. So this request for decision is seeking approval to extend once again the fire services agreement between the town and the County of Northern Lights. This agreement has been in play for a number of years. It originally expired in 2016 and it's been given motions of continuation since. We had hoped to negotiate a new contract with them prior to their CAO retiring, but unfortunately that didn't happen. They do have a new CAO in play now, and we will be working to rediscuss this year and bring forward a revised, refreshed, renewed agreement before the end of the year. Sorry, I'm finished.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So the options here look like a 1-year extension on 2 options. And the first option also speaks to a percentage rate increase to the amount paid in 2024.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's just because this keeps coming every year that I just sort of was a little bit lazy, I guess, on that. Yes, last year when we did renew, because it hadn't been renewed, we asked for a provision in the motion for an increase to the fee we charge equivalent to the increase in the municipal requisition. And this is the same recommendation we are bringing forward for this year to renew the contract for 1 year to enable us opportunity to renegotiate and discuss, and to increase the fee by the 2% that we increased our municipal requisition this year.
Thank you. Councilors, any clarification? Councilor Ford?
No clarification. I just want to say that this is a very, very good contract. I've been involved with it for quite a number of years now. And our fire department members and the County Northern Lights Fire Department members train and get along very, very well together. You say, I think it's a good contract, and I'd be more than willing to put a motion on the floor that council approve a 1-year extension of the existing fire service agreement with the County of Northern Lights to December 31st, 2025, with a percentage rate increase to the amount paid in 2024 equal to the percent increase of the town's Peace Service 2025 municipal requisition of 2%.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Any further questions on this matter? Okay, everyone is clear on the motion? All is in favor of the motion? Opposed? None? It is carried. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. And next up, you're going to tell us about the Enabling Housing Choice North project.
It's a night of good news, isn't it? So this is great news. Just before Christmas, we brought to the attention of council a project that the Enabling Housing Choice North is a project that was discussed at the rec committee, and support was sought of our council to support Lac Cardinal's application to this project. And it was felt that Lac Cardinal would kind of manage as the region and undertake this project. Kind of the 11th hour, we learned that Lac Cardinal could not manage this project, the scope of including all of it for capacity with their staff. And at the 11th hour, we did apply for the project, and I'm happy to say that Peace River was successful in the application. We have had a couple of interviews with them, and we are having our kickoff meeting tomorrow. And I anticipate the project will go on until roughly December, at which time we should be getting a number of recommendations that will be suitable for our community to enact to try to drive some housing initiatives here. A good news story. And we should get some really valuable information, not just information, but yeah, some ideas and suggestions on how to attract builders and whatnot as well here to solve some of our housing problems.
Great. Any questions of Ms. Miller and Mrs. Miller about this project? And basically, most of it's paid for by the program, other than some staff time that we understand should not be a great amount, but some.
I understand it's a project sponsored by the Alberta Realtors. The work is going to be undertaken in part by the University of Alberta in partnership with Rural Development Network. And yes, the staff time is supposed to be a couple hours a week, so hopefully, hopefully it's no more than a day a week.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you for that, and looking forward to the results. So perhaps someone could move that council accept the Enabling Housing Choice North Project briefing note for information. Councilor or Deputy Mayor Boychuk?
I can do that.
Thank you. All those, everybody's clear on the motion. Sorry, all those in favor of the motion. It is carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have our reports, and we have quite a listing of reports here. So the first ones are council event attendance reports. So these are reports that councilors went to as councilors and did whatever was needed. So there's mine in front of you for December, and Mr. Deputy Mayor Boychuk's November report and his December report. Councillor Scammahorn's October report, and his November report, and his December report.
I'm usually much better.
Okay, councillors, you're supposed to hand these in once a month sort of thing. We tighten up, some of us. Any questions on any of those counselor attendance reports? Okay, next up, we have the November 14th, 2024 Regional Energy Committee meeting minutes. And myself and Counselor Shannon go to these. So the one that you have in front of us is a little older at this point in time. But Counselor Shannon, anything to? No, I'm gonna say. Anybody questions on that one? Okay, then, the next one up is November 28th, 2024 Town of Peace River Public Tax Auction Minutes. And so the other properties that are on these, we're still.
Administration is still reviewing and analyzing the best options.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on those minutes? Okay, then, would someone perhaps move that council accept items 10.1 for oops, that's the wrong one. Items 9.1 through 9.3 for information. Councilor Carr so moves. All those in favor of that motion? It is carried. Thank you. Okay, then we have information items from December 6th, 13th, and 20th. I noticed the December 6th ones, there is a letter in here, the first one, a letter from the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services with respect to the Police Amendment Act. So that is one that we're still finding out more information on what it is and how it is and if it changes anything.
There is supposed to be a information session scheduled in the near future for administration to gain an understanding.
Okay, and another item I noticed in there is from Minister Ellis. And this one was, it's a second item. We'd sent a letter to Premier Smith about security in the town and stuff like that. And he basically, yeah, and we've done that, right?
Well, it's in the process.
Oh, okay.
Now that I have a director here to assist me.
Okay, so, yeah, because the minister seems to keep pointing us at that grant application. Okay, and other than that, any other issues someone wants to bring forth on that December 6th item? Okay, then we had December 13th. Anything there, anybody? I think this is the one, where is it the one, where unfortunately, they tell us unfortunately, we are not, we're not accepted to get a municipal intern. So, not this year. Then, the December 20th one. Well, these are a little older by now, and then they're January 10th will be our next one. So any further comments on any of those communication items? Someone would care to put forth the motion?
Move council accept item 10.1 for information.
Thank you. We're clear on that motion. All those in favor? Great, it's carried. Do we have any notice of motions?
None, your worship, thank you.
Okay, comments from the public? No, here. Key communication items. Councilors, what would you suggest?
Hiring
housing.
a new CPO.
And the housing study.
Okay, hiring director of protective services. Housing study. Community wise, I think Battle of Values is happening this Saturday. I understand at 2 p.m. at the Baytex, so something to help and support if you can. Okay, so after that, we've got, flipping my fingers here. We're going to go into close, so I'm gonna say Yeah, I think I said that, comments from the public and none. So then key communication items, we did that. So how about we have a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and go into closed. We're back at 6:05.